unfilled episode of Chillin with the Pool. I'm your host with the most, Pirate Master Deadpool Supreme, here to bring you another fantastic book review. I hope as many of you may have known that yesterday was, 2 days ago, it was St. Patrick's Day. So, on behalf of all that, happy belated St. Patrick's Day to all my Irish subscribers, and Aaron go bragh, as they say. Forgive me if I misuse that phrase, and or sound off in the comments below what you actually think it means. But anyway, given that 2 days ago was a very special occasion, I thought we'd dive into do some. I thought we would do something a little bit differently this time. Yep, and so, ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to present to you this. Ta-da! That's right, I give you A Sword in Slumber from the Queen's Council 4-part book series. It all centers around Briar Rose / Aurora, aka Sleeping Beauty herself. That's right. You know, as a hot take, for the longest time, I always thought that Briar Rose is the more underrated princess of the Disney princesses, only because I think that the only reason that she got so much exposure is because she was just a Disney princess. And but in reality, in terms of story-wise, she was just merely a prop for the story to happen. And everything and stuff. Hang on a second. We'll be right back into this commercial break. Sorry about that, folks. Behind-the-scenes difficulties. Anyway, like I said, I always thought that Aurora / Briar Rose, or whoever you want to call her, felt more of an underrated sort of character. I think the only reason that she had gained so much exposure is because she was just part of the Disney princess line. Nothing to really do with her character or whatsoever. However, this story, on the other hand, rectifies all that. Yup. It's the best, man, I cannot tell you enough how much I love this particular book. This story practically oozes with character and personality. All the characters are perfectly in line, and the best part is, it takes place within a real-world medieval setting between the towns of Austria and the kingdoms of Austria and Bavaria. Yep, real-life canon. This book actually utilizes real-world history and real-world tie-ins that everybody loves. I mean, universally, within any series, be it TV, book, or film, then real-world tie-ins, you can't go wrong with real-world tie-ins, especially for this sort of thing. So, yeah. And everything. So, yes. Anyway, this story takes place about 2 weeks after the events of Sleeping Beauty, when we follow this, where Aurora is actually portrayed as the main protagonist. You know, for every film, book, and TV series, there's always a protagonist. You know, a character whose story we follow from start to finish. Aurora is thankfully this story's protagonist. We follow her journey as we see the slow rise from Sleeping Princess to Temporary Queen, and, get this, the main arc of the story is when she eventually becomes Empress of the Holy Roman Empire, one of the biggest empires throughout all of medieval history. Yup, chosen by medieval actual prince electors to choose this. When it comes to power, these guys have the same amount of power as the Vatican. And those guys pretty much were able to determine kings, queens, and all sorts of medieval royalty. They were pretty much on par with God, in a political standpoint. So, to see a Disney princess actually rise to becoming the Holy Roman Empress of the Holy Roman Empire is definitely a step in the right direction. The story basically follows Aurora but for the majority of parts, we're just going to refer to as Briar Rose, and Aurora was just more of a persona that the books wanted her. But her real true name is Briar Rose, a peasant bard who spent the majority of her life singing songs in a tavern just to make ends meet. So already, at a young age, she was already singing for tuppence or coinage or whatever. If any of you guys know what the currency for Austria or Bavaria is, please sound off in the comments below, as I would love to hear your opinion on it. But anyway, the story basically just follows Aurora's time into becoming the Empress of the Holy Roman Empire. What this story does extremely well is not only place her in a medieval setting, it bolsters Aurora's character up Oh, oh, significantly, because for the longest time I didn't even think she talked, because she was barely in her own movie for like 18 minutes. And I know I've read some comments on the internet saying you can learn a lot about a person just from a simple look, then you have a whole movie. Well, but yeah, but that only gets it so far. I mean, for the time that it was released in 1959, yeah, sure, why not? But in today's people want a modern storytelling, people want more, and I don't think they did enough with her, especially. Uh, 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 hang on, we'll be right back with these commercial on this brief message. Sorry about that, folks. Another set of technical difficulties. But anyway, well, this storm, like I said, I always thought that Briar Rose was the most underrated and yet underdeveloped Disney princess line. I mean, you had other characters. Ariel pretty much had like a whole TV series, 2 movies, and a prequel movie just to flesh out her character a bit more. Then Princess Jasmine pretty much had a whole TV series and an entire trilogy to further back up her character. And Mulan, well, she just needed one movie that showed her taking out the entire Han army and protect all of China. She's pretty much like Captain America in terms of China. I mean, seriously, she was on par with superhero level. And trust me, that's all you definitely needed to know about her. So hell, even Tiana pretty much was the only princess to held down a stable job even after marrying into royalty, because she clearly had a dream of being a business owner in 1920s America, and she did. She overcame that odds. That's a character arc, especially given real world tie-ins and everything like that. But for Aurora, there was really nothing much people could go off of. I mean, if you count some of the shorts that Disney had released prior, like in 2005 or so, and stuff. And don't get me wrong, one of that things, let's see, maybe Left Alone, Keys to the Kingdom, I think. I'm not really sure about what the title of it was. But yeah, I mean, the concept was great. The execution could have definitely used some work. But aside from that, I felt that she was just more underdeveloped. But thankfully, that's where this book comes in. It really bolsters Aurora's character up and actually dives into her psyche as to what was going on through her mind. You know, how she's struggling to adjust to change. I mean, what her perceptions, her thoughts, her dreams, her ideas. I mean, everything. Everything that was great about her in the short 18 minutes of the original movie was they just took all that and really ran with it with this book. I mean, seriously, we got to learn a lot about Aurora's true personality from this book. She's feisty, she's dreamy, she's charming, she has a great sense of humor, and she's not. And this time, after her experience her fate being at the hands of Maleficent, she takes charge and becomes a great girl boss, but also an endearing one. So it just goes to show that that there's a reason why she became a girl boss, because she didn't want her fate decided by anyone else. She was tired. She had enough and took a stand. That's what people do when they finally want to change, because even at some point, people are going to start saying that enough is too much. And that's what Aurora did. This bolsters her character up significantly, as well as her husband, Philip, Prince, now King Philip. It shows that that Philip's journey is pretty much no different from when a soldier comes back from war. It shows that he had real PTSD when fighting a whole freaking dragon alone. I mean, alone and everything. I mean, can you imagine that? A soldier going into battle alone, facing the jaws of hell and death itself, all with just a single sword and shield. I mean, that can definitely. In this book, it definitely shows that being a knight in shining armor is definitely not all it's cracked up to be. And believe me, I've seen some soldier. I bet a lot of you have had some relatives who are in the service who definitely have physically come back, but emotionally/mentally, Yeah, not so much. So that's pretty much how Philip is portrayed, but in a much more endearing and more sympathetic sort of light. And after all, he is one. Besides, he wasn't a character in the first movie, he was more of a plot device for both he and Aurora were. I mean, his was more physical because he fought a dragon, but he never took the time to emotionally get to know him. I mean, Eric and Prince Eric and Aladdin pretty much had a whole movie going for them. In Aladdin's case, it was a TV series too, so at least you had some more adventures or time to further flesh out his character a bit more. But for Philip, yeah, we really didn't know that much about him. So, but thankfully, he still maintains his sardonic sense of humor from the first one, and he actually used to be a professional jouster called the Pain from Lorraine. Yep, that's right. He actually had a reputation as a jouster, and believe me, he plays him off as kind of like the straight man in a way. But what's also great about this book is they offer two OC characters for the couple to bounce off of. Frida, who is portrayed as the more sensitive, straight, common sense, no nonsense for sort of woman, who is more or less pretty much a mere reflection to what Aurora could have been if her life had gone on a different path. And believe me, she is put through just as much the ringer as Aurora is. And then there's Benedict. Ben for short. But man, he's more of the tragic comedian sort of thing. And I swear, with the kind of jokes and humor he puts down in this book, who needs a court jester, am I right? He becomes Philip's squire and is eventually, at the end of this book, spoiler alert by the way, promoted to knighthood. That's right, Sir Benedict becomes Sir Benedict of Hamash, or at least, or yeah, I think Hamash. I think that's how this. If you guys know what the general pronunciation of that same name is, sound off in the comments below. I pretty much would love to hear it. But anyway. Yeah, anyway, he and Briar pretty much have like a younger brother, older sister vibe going for them, and I just love it. It's just so endearing. And he and Philip are pretty much brothers in arms through and through, not just in terms of being a squire to King Philip. I mean, they're like real, actual brothers and stuff. He has a really good arc going for him, but he still maintains his outgoing sense of humor. And the other characters that are featured in here, oh, forget about it. You know, one of my favorites was actually King Johann, or Zauberer Johann of Mecklenburg. He's an 11-year-old boy that was sent as kind of a joke, but also a way of saying that yes, their kingdom, or at least their town, actually still exists. It was supposed to be kind of like a joke sort of thing, but Johann himself is very charming for an 11-year-old. He actually pretends to be a quote unquote evil wizard sort of thing, like cursing people, casting spells and sort of thing, and stuff. And the best part is Aurora never ever once talks down to him. She treats him as like an equal and as a person should be treated, and that's what I can really respect about with people like that. Kids are a lot smarter than what people give them credit for. Just saying. And I believe that this is the kind of story that you can read, that can not only reach young adults but also kids, time after time after time after time. And I think that's what I appreciate about this book. And man, during an onslaught to the Prince Elector's banquet hall, he was last seen hiding in an armed war. I mean, this kid saw bloodshed, and he was only 11. Come on, what sensible kid would want to witness bloodshed said at that age? I mean, I know we've been desensitized as a modern audience due to the video games and movies at that age, but still, this was a medieval child of all things. No kid should ever have to experience the brutalities of war at such a young age. I'm just saying. For those of you who already have, you have my deepest you have my deepest condolences to all of you. But for those who haven't, please don't. Anyway, Johann was just a treat to be around. He and Benedict actually served as great comic relief. I mean, imagine a Zauberer 11-year-old actually being able to cast magic. I mean, if he saw got a good look at the three fairies that were accompanying Briar to this event, then yeah, he definitely would have been there would have been a lot more potential for him. But anyway, for what we got, it was so endearing. Anyway, Aurora ends up having Briar has these dreams from Maleficent herself. And as it turns out, that Maleficent, Flora, Fauna, and Merryweather, those are the names of the three fairies, in case you guys didn't know that, were actually fragmental pieces of one singular entity. Yup, it really blew my mind away when I first heard about this. And at the end of the story, they all merge into one singular being, in terms of facial features, powers, and personality. And their new name is Brynhild. Yup, just like Brynhild, the Asgardian leader of the Asgardian Valkyrie. So yeah, but don't take my word for it. Just read the book for yourself and you'll soon learn more. Each chapter is just as immersive as the last. I mean, seriously, I could hardly even put this book down, except when I had to go back to work and everything, because I often read this during my break, and this was actually just gave me some new material to think over while I was doing my work. Keeps me company and all that and everything. But like I said, this book right here, like I said, and I cannot say this enough times, but this book practically oozes with character and charm. So I could so easily see this as being a direct-to-DVD sequel to Sleeping Beauty, called Sleeping Beauty 2, A Sword in Slumber, featuring the exact same type of animation that Cinderella 3 had back in the day. The kind that was high resolution and was almost identical to what the original was one back in Disney's Silver Age, but cleaned up a bit to meet modern standards. If you guys seen the ones know the ones I'm talking about, then you already know. So, but anyway, I could just see this being as a direct-to-DVD sequel pulled straight from the pages of this book right here. I mean, can you just imagine it? All animated with a new voice cast that fit the characters absolutely perfectly. And if you have any mind of who should play which character, please sound off in the comments below. I would love to hear your thoughts and give personal shoutouts in the next video. But yeah, each chapter was a thrill to read from start to finish, and I cannot recommend this enough, highly recommend that you pick up a copy of this in a book yourself and enjoy reading every one of this. It's because of this story that I feel that Aurora/Briar Rose has become an actual living, breathing character, complete with flaws and all. She may have been the most underdeveloped here in the official canon, but in the Queen's Council canon, she truly is a queen slash empress worthy to hold her own. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the whole scoop of the story right here in a nutshell. Feel free to pick this up at your local bookstores, wherever this is sold. So, that's all the time I have for today here, folks. And don't forget to tune in next time, or when we dive right back into the realm of Disney for another book that I surprisingly didn't cover on this channel yet. What will it be? Well, you'll just have to tune in to find out. Until next time, true believers, Excelsior.